Rainier Valley Historical Society's mission is to collect. Our boundaries are from Dearborn Street to Seattle city limits and from I-5 to Lake Washington.
No, it's me. Just a second. This is Eleanor interviewing Dino Patricelli on Sunday, September 9th or 10th. What did we decide? 9th?
9th, because 7th was my mom's birthday, yeah.
September 9th, 2012, at his home in Kent. Dino, when were you born?
I was born October 29th, 1954.
And where were you born?
Renton Hospital. I was the only one born in Renton.
The only one of your family?
Only one by Doc Patricelli.
What does that mean, Doc Patricelli?
Dr. Patricelli delivered me.
Who is he?
He's, I think it was my dad's first or second cousin.
Oh, okay.
And he was a well-known physician in Renton.
Okay. So, Dino, tell me about growing up in the Rainier Valley, where you lived and where you went to school.
I lived at 2419 South Judkin Street, and my grandmother lived right behind us on 2418 Irving Street. And I grew up there, and then I went to Mount Virgin School, and then Coleman School.
And high school?
High school, I went to Franklin High School.
Okay. Did you graduate from Franklin?
No.
Did you graduate at all?
Yes, well, I took a GED.
Oh, okay. Excellent. And you had brothers and sisters?
I had 3 older brothers. I was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And the oldest one was Luigi, Phil, and Mike. Mike was 5 years older than I was. Phil is 8 years, and my oldest brother was 16 years older than I was.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
What were your parents' names?
Phil and Helen Patricelli.
Right. So tell me what you remember about growing up in the valley. What did you do for fun?
Oh, we did a lot of stuff like hide and go seek. We had the Williamson family. They had like 10 kids, and we just played hide and go seek. Just a lot of things, you know.
What was the name of that family again?
The Williamsons.
Williamson. Okay.
Yeah, Williamsons. Yeah. So they had a lot of kids over there. So my brother would go over there and I'd go over there, and then we'd all play hide and go seek and just different things like that as a kid.
So this was the 50s and 60s.
Right.
Do you remember it being an Italian community that you grew up in? Did it feel like that, or was it multi-ethnic?
Well, it was starting to get a little bit ethnic, but most of the older people were there Italian, like Cicchettis and Nanucci's, and of course us, we were there. And then, you know, just growing up in the whole neighborhood, I was just having fun, you know. Just like the youngest one living there, never had to worry about eating because there was plenty of food everywhere. Even if we didn't eat, we could walk down the alleys and stuff. They had plenty of fruit, you know, or somebody would call you in and say, "Come on and eat." You know, it's just.
Yeah, I hear that from other people.
Yeah,
too.
It was just a lot of good times, you know.
You were telling me about going for ice cream.
Yeah, well, I'm the youngest, so my brothers would take me down to Foremost Dairy, which is used to be right across from Black Bear on Hiawatha, because my oldest brother lived there in Hiawatha. And we used to go over to Foremost, and we used to go to Foremost, and we used to yell at the guys, and the guys would always bring us out. Well, they used to bring us out chocolate milk. And then later on, you know, my brother found out a place down the street from the restaurant, my mom and dad's restaurant, was Arctic Ice Cream, I believe. And we used to knock on the window, and as soon as they opened up the window, they always had ice creams for us. So it was a lot of fun, you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
And did you walk to Mount Virgin for school?
Oh yeah, walked to Mount Virgin to school every day.
What do you remember about school there? Was it still run by priests and nuns?
Priests and nuns, yeah. They were strict, you know. So.
Did you learn Italian there?
No, I never did. My oldest brother did, and my grandma still spoke Italian. I can understand what she was saying. I just never really picked it up, you know.
Did your parents speak Italian at home at all?
Well, my dad, my dad was born in 1918, and then he came over here. And when he was growing up, he was starting to speak Italian, and my grandmother didn't like it because you're in America, you speak English.
Right.
And every time that my dad would tell me, every time he would speak Italian, that my grandma would go up and slap him upside his head. I said, "No, you're in America, you got to learn English."
Do you think literally she would slap him?
Oh, well, yeah, she would, attempt to, I'm sure. Yeah. So.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, I was hoping you would tell me about the businesses that your parents ran. And now I can't remember, there was the Tavern and there was the hamburger place. Which came first?
I believe that the taverns were during the wartime.
Okay.
And that was the Hitch and Post Tavern on Rainier Avenue. Right by, it was right close to Hiawatha Street, right kind of across the street from Black Bear at the time on Rainier Avenue. They owned that one, and Al Rossellini, I think, was the main owner, and then my dad leased it from him. And then he owned the gas station right across the street from it, and then a couple other taverns, I believe, up in Hillman and Columbia City at the time.
Do you mean Al Rossellini owned them?
No, I think my dad bought them. Yeah.
Bought them?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I'm not sure that he had.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he had them very long or not. And then in the late '50s or mid '50s, he had bought. Him and my mom had bought the hamburger joint right on Massachusetts and Rainier, and it used to be called Patricelli's Fabulous Drive-In. And he used to have really big sesame seed hamburger buns and stuff. And that's where I used to walk from school down there all the time.
Oh, I see. After school.
Yeah, I just go down there and grab a quart of milk and have a little bite to eat and then walk home.
Oh, fun.
So, yeah. And then, of course, we got time?
Oh, yeah. I'm just making sure everything's running. Perfect.
Yeah, and then, of course, they had Art Alberto right across the street. And, we used to go over there, and Josie Pino used to work for him, and I used to go there, and at that time, you used to get like a bag full of pepperoni ends for like 50 cents. And she would load me up all the time, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So were you allowed to just kind of wander around the neighborhood?
Well, yeah, at that time, because, there was always family around, especially in our neighborhood. Everybody knew everyone. So, it was no problem. I didn't wander very far. The farthest I ever went was either to Mount Virgin to go to school or to Coleman down there because I had a friend that lived over there, Coleman School. In fact, I went to Coleman after the 5th grade. So.
It went till 8th grade, right? Coleman
went till 6th, and then I went to Washington Junior High, and then
you did.
Yeah, and then we moved, and then I went to Mercer and then Franklin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Been around the block.
Yes, and we wouldn't have had to move except for the bridge. The people that came in and wanted to buy, all the housings for the bridge that was coming through, the new floating bridge and the freeway. Well, they forced us into moving, and our house.
What year would that have been? Do you remember?
I think it was like in 68, 67, 68, somewhere around there. They came by and said, "We're going to buy your house." And, my dad wasn't too happy because he already had that house paid off, so he had to, find another house. But anyway, our house is still there, so is our grandmother's house still there. Well, I drove by it the other day, and they had tearing it down, our old house, but it looked like they built doll houses, but the address is still there.
Yeah, so
Yes.
they didn't really need it for the bridge.
Yeah, and then right at the end of the street there was the 1226 bus line, trolley line that we used to catch all the time. And then, of course, Jerry Scaringi, he was a bus driver, and he knew the family, so, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me about the Tavern?
I only can tell you what I heard, and is my dad would sit around and talk to us and tell us all about the stuff that would happen.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
We accept hearsay.
Anyway, just I don't know where you want to start at when he.
Well, they bought the Tavern. How do you know how many years they had it?
I don't know. It was during the wartime. I know that my dad said that he had it during that time, and I'm not sure I wasn't born when he had it.
Right.
So I think my oldest brother, which I said is 16 years older than I am, I think he at one time, I don't know how old he was, but he used to go down there, I think, on weekends and just help clean up when it wasn't open. and make extra money, you know. So, but yeah, I'm not sure how long he actually owned it. So.
I know there was this incident in 1946 with a shooting. Did they close up the tavern after that?
No, I think from what I can remember, and I'm not sure if it's all, you know, correct, is that the reason why the shooting had started is because they thought there was a burglar in there.
Right.
And then I heard too through the grapevine, and I think from my dad, but they were kind of jealous of him because he had a business, a going concern there. And I'm not sure exactly what happened, but they said they saw somebody in there and a burglar, and they just started shooting up the place. They ended up killing him. I think his name was Ivan, was it?
Einar. It's
Einar.
here in the newspaper articles.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was the caretaker.
Yeah, he stayed there.
Yeah.
He was like the swamper, just keep an eye on the place. Because at that time, they couldn't be open on Sundays, you know. So he would...
Blue laws.
Yeah, laws and stuff. So, yeah. So...
Yeah, it sounds like it was a tragedy any way you slice it. And those articles that you gave me are very interesting because it sounds like the neighbors were really quite upset with the police
Right.
for overreacting.
Plus, I think they shut him down for a while because they had to replace all the windows, too.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then there was a murder scene. I mean, he was shot.
Right.
So they had to clean that up. So I'm not sure exactly how long they were shut down for, or even if they were shut down, but I'm sure they were.
Do you want to tell me about the Snitch?
Oh,
Sounds like something from Harry Potter.
yes. And this is, I mean, he had told me 2-3 times.
Your father?
Right.
Yeah.
At that time, when they had the tavern, you wasn't allowed to have hard alcohol in there. And you wasn't supposed to stay in there and have a couple drinks. Well, my dad would stay in there, count his money, maybe listen to music or something, and have a drink or something. Well, this guy came in and started coming into the tavern, and he was coming in for a long time and kind of befriended my dad. So my dad more or less trusted him. I'm kind of making it short after a period of time.
Take your time.
He came in, and pretty soon, you know, my dad would say, "Hey, you want to stick around after I close up?" And the guy said, "Sure." So they'd have a drink of whiskey or something in there, and come to find out, maybe a month, 2 months later, he gets a notice in the mail, or I think the liquor control board came in and gave him a letter and said he was closed down.
Oh.
And he couldn't figure out why. So he called up Al Rossellini and told him, "Hey, I got some problems here. I'm going to get closed down. And I have this court date I got to go to." And Al said, "Well, I'll be there." I think Al was an attorney at that time.
Right.
So he went to the court, him and my mom went to the courthouse, and he said he sat down and there was an oval table there.
Say that 5
Yeah.
times.
Anyway, he said that when he got there was everybody in suits and this, and then pretty soon the judge walked in, and he said, "Mr. Patricelli, you here?" And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Who's representing you?" And my dad was looking around for Al Rossellini. He couldn't find him. And pretty soon he said there was like 4 or 5 guys stood up and says, "We're here to represent him." And it was, I think it was, these guys were from Al's law firm. So Al sent them down. So he couldn't figure out what was going on, and they said, "We're going to close you down for a violation of," I don't know what they called it back then. And he said, "What are you talking about?" Well, at that same time, I believe that they brought that guy in. It was his the friend that befriended him, and he was a liquor inspector. And so I guess my dad jumped across the table and was trying to grabbed him and says, "I'll kill you, you SOB," you know. And so they shut down. So, you know, they didn't have anything else to do. So my mom and dad decided, well, I think let's go to Canada. So they went up to Canada, and they were up there for a week or two. When they came home, they said that the police were at the door as soon as they pulled up. And they said, "Mr. Patricelli?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Where have you been?" He said, "We've been up to Canada." He says, "I understand that you have a .32 automatic." He said, "Yes, I do." He says, "Can we see it?" My mom said, "Well, it's in the house. We just got home." You know, they didn't even get into the house. So they came in the house. My mom said she reached up in the her closet and grabbed it and handed it to him. Well, to come to find out, I believe that snitch was tied to a tree and shot 6 or 7 times with a .32 automatic. And they thought my dad did it, which he was up in Canada and he didn't have anything to do with it. So evidently he must have did this to somebody
Yeah, it
else.
sounds like he was not making a lot of friends for himself.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's mostly what I remember.
But they were able to exonerate your father.
Yes, they gave him his gun back as a,
It didn't match.
yeah, I think it's a hammerless .32 Colt, which I still have.
Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah,
yeah.
that was pretty interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else about the Fab? You said they call it the Fab,
Yeah,
right?
the Fab.
We have some good pictures that you lent us of that place.
In fact, if I can find that DVD that I made, I will even give you a copy
Okay,
of that.
yeah,
But
that'd be
anyway, yeah, it's just that, it was a Patricelli's Fabulous Drive-In that was right on the,
Yeah.
like a pyramid type
Yeah.
corner right down the route.
Yeah, I think I spotted where it was.
Right. I know, we just, just as kids, we all went down. It was a hamburger joint, and then just a lot of fun down there. Like I said, I used to go down there and eat all the time because it was there. My mom always made a joke that whoever I sat next to, I'd have what they were eating, 'cause I got to have one of those. So, no, just a lot of police used to come down there, at that time. They had pinball machines and, just different things. It was a small joint, but it was a lot of fun.
Do you remember approximately what years it was open?
I believe they sold it in 60, I think they sold it in 62 or 3. Because then they bought a bunch of property up in Granite Falls, and that's when, later on, when my dad retired, they moved up there.
Right. Yeah, so you would have been 8 or 9 when
Yeah.
you were going down there, and
Right. Yeah. Mostly with my brothers, because Mike was, he was 5 years older than I was, so we'd always walk down there.
cool.
Yeah.
I think, and you told me earlier that it became a coffee corral,
Came a coffee corral and then a
and now
teriyaki.
Yeah, I think
place.
that teriyaki place is still there.
And at one time they had torn it down and made it smaller, because
Oh, okay.
the building was, I guess it was getting kind of old. But
Oh, you told me that your mom used to bring hamburgers to the
oh,
cruise.
seafair. Oh yeah. My mom was a hydroplane nut, and she would, she knew all the drivers. She did all that seafair stuff, and she would make up hamburgers and French fries for all the drivers and have their names on the white bags.
Oh, wow.
And then we would deliver them in her she had a '59 Ford station wagon. And all the police knew her, and they just waved her in because,
Oh, nice,
she even
yeah.
had hamburgers for the police back then,
Nice, yeah.
And we'd drive right up to the pits and deliver the hamburgers. And I just remember the chance I had a chance to ride into Bardol. One day I was down
Wow.
there. I was a little kid, and the guy, I can't remember the driver, but it was the black and green one. And he said, "Come on, Dino, get in. I'll give you a little ride around." And I was scared. I was young. And I wish to this day I would have went.
Oh yeah, I know. We all have those regrets. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Tell me when your folks died.
My dad died in '98. He was 81, I believe.
I think we have an obituary for your mother, a newspaper obituary. Is this?
The matriarch.
Yeah, Garlic
Yeah.
Gulch matriarch. Yeah.
Yeah, she passed away in 2006. It's kind of funny but ironic. Her favorite day was Friday the 13th because she was the oldest of, I believe, 10, 11 kids. My mom.
Wow.
She was born in 1919, and they were really poor. But her younger brother, Uncle Dan, was born on Friday the 13th, and my mom didn't care what Friday the 13th it was. She always called her brother and wished her happy birthday.
Oh, that's fun. How nice,
And she just loved Friday the 13th.
yeah.
Well, she died on Friday the 13th. Yeah. Yeah. Of '06, I believe.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that reminds me of another question that I ask everybody. When you were living in that community, did people call it Garlic Gulch at that time? Do you remember hearing that term?
The older people.
They did.
You know,
yeah.
not my generation, you know, but the older people, because I'd go down to the restaurant, you know, and, you know, Garlic Gulch, this, and they had the new Italian too, right there. And then, my brother Louis had, it was like an ice cream shop right there in the corner of 23rd and Rainier.
Oh, really?
There was my brother's little ice cream shop, and then I think there was a meat market, and then the new Italian. And then around the other side from my brother was Tony LaSalle, shoemaker, and he did shoes. You know, so everybody, you know, everybody later on in the weekends always kind of gather around the new Italian.
Yeah. So even in the '60s, there was still a feeling of an Italian community.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Even though even up till they got rid of I think the new Italian. So
Maybe that
now you
was
got
the-
Borrachini's down there too, and we try to go down there every other Saturday. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you feel like you'd like to get on the record?
I don't know, just, you know, I just remember growing up as a kid going through the tunnels. My brothers, we'd walk through the tunnels because it wasn't that far.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, I was the youngest, and Phil and Mike said, "Come on, let's go. We're going to go swimming." And I'd have nightmares going through that tunnels because they'd get me right in the middle, and then they'd take off running. And when the big semis come, they'd give them the pump sign. They blow the horns.
Oh my gosh.
And then my brothers would
Yeah.
laugh, and then they'd come back and get me, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just, you know.
Now you can walk through. They have a special tunnel just to walk.
Just walk through, yeah.
But wasn't like that, huh?
No, they had like a railing, and you walked up a couple steps, and then you walked alongside the tunnel right inside.
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
I hope that's